Hi, I'm Yvette Lee and I'm the counselor for Mahatma Education Society's Pillai Group of Institutions. I have been associated with Mahatma Education Society for the last 11 years and I have a total experience of 14 years in the field of mental health. We all know that the 10th of October is World Mental Health Day, and we are during this week trying to raise awareness on mental health and the need for mental health and the need to be able to talk about mental health and mental issues so that the stigma related to mental illnesses and mental health issues are reduced. During the past few days, we have asked students to send us questions that they would like to be answered, and I will be now answering some of your questions during this time. So, mental health is basically the absence of any kind of mental illness. A good mental health means that you would be able to function properly to your best abilities and to your best capacities in the area that you are in. So for example, if you are in college, it means that you would be able to perform well, you would be high on motivation, you would be able to have and build good social relationships. So you are able to perform all your duties as per your developmental age properly, and that is good mental health. There could be many reasons why you are not motivated to do anything. I think the first and the most important thing that you need to check on is whether you are actually interested in doing something. So for example, if you are interested in music, automatically there will be an innate motivation in you to maybe pick up a guitar or to learn the drums, etc., or to sing, whatever that case be. So you first need to check whether it is something that you like to do. If it is something that you do not like to do but you have to do it, like for example you have to study, say for example math, and you do not like studying math, in that case what do is you have to consciously put in hard work. You have to push yourself to do that work, and you should have a goal at the end. See the larger picture and see what is your goal. Your goal could be to get good marks, means you will have to study for longer hours. If your goal is to just to pass your math subject, then maybe you might need to study for lesser hours. So that is how you keep yourself motivated. If you have a goal in front of you and if you like what you're doing, these are the two things. The third is that if you are just lazy, then in that case you have to just get up and get going. Another reason why you could not be motivated is because you might be having a mental health issue, and most oftenly low motivation is seen in people who are going through anxiety or going through depression or other forms of mental illnesses. In that case, my recommendation would be that you seek professional help. You first speak to a counselor, and then the counselor will go forward and recommend and tell you what to do. What would be your next steps? I think self-care is the most important, and we have all seen it, especially during this pandemic stage, that even though we are not predisposed to any kind of mental health issue, but however a lot of us have gone through a lot of emotional phases during this pandemic because of the lockdown, because of staying at home, etc. So self-care becomes extremely important. I think the whole concept of me first should be put forward, that first I will take care of myself. Only once I take care of myself can I take care of others. I think the most important thing that you need to do in self-care is first indulge in activities that you like doing. So if you like exercise. If you like music, listen to music. If you like watching some kind of a genre of say movies, etc., set aside a time where you can spend with yourself. So doing things that you enjoy is what is very important, because that will help better your feeling of happiness, etc. The second thing is that have to do physical activity every day. Any kind of physical activity, be it yoga or running or maybe just a walk, releases serotonin, which is a hormone in your body, and that hormone is a happy hormone. So that basically will just automatically make you feel better. The other things is obviously building good social relationships. It could be with families, it could be with friends, etc. These all are how you can take care of yourself. And I think putting yourself first, taking time out for yourself and doing things that you enjoy doing is the most important. So mental illnesses is something that is diagnosed. Okay, so firstly, I would like to tell everybody that please, nobody became a doctor going to Google University. So please do not search your symptoms and say that you are depressed. We very often use these words, I am depressed, or I am sad, or I am suicidal, in very loose terms. We need to understand that these are very, very serious mental health problems and that we should not use them loosely. You might be feeling sad, so say you are sad. You might be feeling sad to a great extent, but that is sadness. That is not depression. Depression is when it is diagnosed by a doctor, which is a psychiatrist. Now, how do you realize, or what are the red flags that you need to look for, which help you understand that you might be in any kind of a situation or a mental health problem, or you might be heading towards that problem? I think there are the four important red flags. The first is that there are changes in your eating and your sleeping patterns and in your sexual activity. So you will either be sleeping too much or sleeping very little, or eating too much, binge eating, or not eating at all. The second sign is that you stop enjoying or doing activities that you earlier on liked doing. So for example, earlier on, if you liked, say, playing the guitar, you will stop playing the guitar. Or if you earlier on liked to go out and meet friends, now you would rather stay at home and would watch something on Netflix or that way. The third is that your physical hygiene takes a toll. Means it is difficult for you to get out of bed, to go to the shower, brush your teeth. You find that difficult, and that is what is one of the major red flags or the signs for mental health issues. And the fourth is that if it affects your normal functionality, means if you are unable to come to college, that is your role right now, that you have to get up and come to college. That if you are unable to do that, again, that is a sign that maybe something is going on for which you require help. For other people, if you say pandemic ke time pe there was no coming to college, but if you, for example, had to wake up and log into Zoom and attend a class, if you were not able to do that, do your daily functional activities, then it is a sign that you might be, I'm not saying it is for sure, please do not diagnose yourself, you might be facing some mental health problems. In this case, you reach out to a counselor will help you and tell you the steps what need to be done. So I hope you all are ready to come back to college, and we are all ready to welcome you over here. But I do know that most of you are right now giving your examinations. So a few tips for studying while you are preparing for your examination. Your first and the most important thing is that have a scheduled time for study. Please schedule a proper time that you will study. And also one of my suggestions always is that have one scheduled place for study. Have a desk and a chair, which is your study table and your study chair, so that automatically your mind makes associations with that table and studying. For example, like as soon as you sit on the bed, your mind associates bed with sleep or laziness, so you begin to feel sleepy. In the similar way, you want to build an association with that chair and that table. So when you sit on it, your mind is already ready to start focusing, and therefore you are more motivated to study. So people who have mental illnesses and people who have mental health problems usually pass it on to their children. So it is hereditary in nature. So if you do have a family member who might be having a neurosis like depression or a more serious psychosis like schizophrenia or bipolar disorders, the possibility of you being predisposed to it is much higher. But however, some people go without having or without going through mental illness issues as well, even though mental illness might run in their family. And one of the reasons of that could be that their coping strategies are really good, and also the triggers are not so much, or they were able to cope with triggers. Now triggers could be anything for anybody. It could be, for example, a change of house, a change for a child, or a change of or a change in places where you are living for a child, or even change in your bed positioning could also be a trigger. For younger adults, it could be a breakup in a relationship, or it could be a friendship that has gone sour, or it could be issues with your parents. These all could be triggers, and or it could be something as serious as a death in the family. But however, different people respond differently to these triggers, and what that depends on is basically your coping mechanisms, and also it also depends largely upon your personality types as well. Okay, so reading too much about mental health, I don't know whether you can develop mental health issues because of reading too much. You might develop a compulsive behavior probably, where you are often searching for symptoms that are matching yours, and that could lead to even more severe anxiety. So if you go in the DSM-5, DSM-5 is basically the Diagnostic Statistical Manual for Mental Health, and that is something that all the doctors go by. If you yourself will read any of the signs and symptoms over there, you will be able to associate with a lot. But understand that only psychiatrists can diagnose a mental illness. So if you are over reading, okay, what actually happens is that you might not have that problem, but the anxiety of yours will rise because you can associate with so many symptoms. So if you are reading only for intellectual knowledge, great, get all the knowledge that you can. But if you are reading so that you can fix yourself in a certain box, in a certain mental health problem, then it is a problem. So the first most important thing when we talk about self-confidence is that you need to understand yourself. So the acceptance of self and who you are is very, very important. So you need to accept who you are, the way you look, how you dress. Acceptance is the first most, what are your abilities? Acceptance is the first and the most and the foremost important thing when it comes to self-confidence. The next is focus on your strengths rather than your weaknesses. All of us have strengths and all of us have weaknesses. Once you know yourself and you understand what your strengths are, focus on that and use your strengths to do something. That will help you obviously gain more self-confidence. And the last but the most important thing is that we need to change our self-talk. Self-talk is basically what we tell ourselves. Like, I am not good enough, or I am not pretty enough, or I cannot do this activity. This is all negative self-talk. We need to change our negative self-talk from negative to a positive self-talk. For example, if you think that, okay, I am not good looking, by that it means that you are telling yourself that you are not good looking. So your self-talk could be that I am not good looking, but I do have a lot of talents. Okay, so firstly, accepting what is true, and secondly, changing your negative self-talk to your positive self-talk is extremely important, because I think self-talk is actually what makes you the person you are, and also it will increase your confidence, and therefore it becomes very important in any kind of interaction and into the person you become. So for teachers, I understand that this pandemic has been extremely difficult for all of us. We have had to make amends with learning technologies, learning new things, learning and changing our methods of teaching because everything went online. Also, the fact that you were working from home, and a lot of times your work time and your family time mingled because we were working extra hours. I know it's been extremely stressful for all of us as well. But I think a few things to keep in mind is that all of us need to have a shutdown time. A shutdown time is very, very important. That, okay, after 7 o'clock I will shut down my laptop, or after 6 o'clock I will shut down my laptop, and I will not indulge in anything. It means that obviously you need to schedule your day properly so that you don't lag behind in your work, so that you do not miss out on deadlines, etc. The next important thing is that have a workspace. You need to have a workspace because obviously it will help you concentrate better, it will help you put in better efforts, etc. Also, you cannot take a Zoom class with somebody walking in you in the background, etc. Do not make your workspace your eating space. Again, the associations that we are making as to how and where we are working with where we are eating should not be the same. I think, and the last and the most important is that indulge in self-care. I have said this and I say it again, that self-care is extremely important. Spend time with yourself. Take a few minutes in the morning, maybe before everybody, your children wake up, before you start your classes, to do a 10-minute meditation or just to stretch. Then in the evening, if you can put in some time for a walk, maybe spend time with your children or take your children to the park now that things are open up. So these are important things that we need to focus on, because until and unless we don't take care of ourselves, we will not be able to either help our students or help other people around us. So it's very, very important that you have your tribe. Your tribe is basically the people who are extremely close to you. So it's important that you are in touch with your family, with your friends, because these are your support networks. These are the people you can rely on when you are not doing too well, when you are sad, or when you are down and out and you need somebody to talk to. Therefore, it is important that we also keep in touch with our family and friends, and we have realized how important this is, especially during the pandemic, where we wanted to be in touch with people. We did not want to be at home anymore. Therefore, it is important that now that we have the time, we realize the importance of how these network systems help us and how we can fall back on them. So be in touch with family and friends, grow strong and healthy relationships within your family and friends, and also be there for each other. That is extremely important. So unlike what we see in movies, where people who have mental health issues or who have mental illness, जहाँ पे भी they show them as these characters जो थोड़े से पागल हैं, or people who want to murder someone, or who are into violence, etc. Mental health and mental illness as such do not come across like this. They can be very, very hidden as well. Therefore, if you know people who are going through depression or going through any kind of mental health issues, and sometimes they do come across maybe in your classrooms or in your circles as people who are a little funny or a little, different, it's important that we do not stigmatize them, that we do not ostracize them. We need to understand that the illness is separate and the individual is separate, and therefore we need to be open to helping that person and listen to what the person says. And if you know of resources that the person can avail of, then maybe connecting with a therapist, a counselor. Maybe start off by, if you are close to his or her family, start off by talking to the family members and telling them that I think maybe there is an issue and I know somebody who can help your son or your daughter. So therefore it is important that we do not firstly make fun of them, we do not bully them, and we stand by them and we support them, because we do not know ourselves when we could be going through these mental issues or mental health problems. So if any of your friend has come and told you that they want to end their life, or they want to call it quits, or sometimes people say कि ये life is not so great, जीने का क्या मतलब, all these liners all show that maybe the person is suicidal in nature, maybe the person is having suicidal ideation. Many a times people ask questions, is it just for sympathy gaining or attention seeking? But it might be, but we need to just double check and to see whether they are suicidal or not. If there is anybody like this who you know and who has been talking to you about life is not worth living, feeling very hopeless, etc., please speak to a counselor about it. Please, I am here in college. I think all of you have my numbers. Please connect with me, or ask the student to connect with me. If the student is not opening to connect with me, please call me and I will connect to the students and the parents and I will take it further. Please understand that this is very, very professional, and as students or teachers, you might not have the skills to handle it. Therefore, a professional needs to be brought into this equation. But however, do not push it away thinking that it is attention seeking or sympathy gaining. Just it's better to be sure than to be sorry later on. So I understand, in my years of experience, I've seen that many people do not want to talk to a counselor or do not want to go to therapy because obviously of the stigma associated with it, and they think that they will be made fun by their friends, or their family members sometimes do not agree with it. So if any of you are facing problems, it is important that you do come and talk to a counselor. And as friends, if you see your other friends struggling, it is important that you encourage and motivate them at least to go for one session. That should be your aim, at least to go and say hi to the counselor. Okay, that is more than enough. Okay, the rest is left up on the counselor as to how to deal with the person. I must admit it is extremely difficult with students and clients who are not open to counseling, but we hopefully we do have a lot of skills to deal with it and to build a rapport with the student so that we can help the student. So something that is really on the rise that we see today is the rate at which young people are self-harming themselves. Self-harm is basically, things where you hurt yourself, like we see cutting on your hands or cutting on your thighs, sometimes burning with the candle or putting hot wax, or purposely banging your head against a wall. These self-harming behaviors are seen a lot in adolescents and they are on a rise. Self-harm does not mean that you want to commit suicide. Self-harm, basically, the main idea of self-harm is to feel something. Most of the individuals who indulge in self-harm, like cutting behaviors, etc., they want to just feel something. Most often they want to feel the hurt or the pain, because otherwise they feel numb inside. So if any one of you are indulging in self-harm behaviors, please, it is serious. Please connect with me or connect with any other counselor if you do have it, and get the required help. For others, if you notice your friends, okay, who are now basically withdrawing from society or who are withdrawing from friendships, or you see people wearing like long sleeves all the time, okay, or they are wearing mufflers, because sometimes people also tend to cut on their throat, okay, please be aware of all these signs. Listen to the person, talk to the person, be there for the person, and also encourage them to visit a therapist, because again this is extremely professional related and only professionals can handle this. So I know that all of you have seen Three Idiots, and which talks a lot about competition and how people have different abilities, and only intellectual or your marks that you attain does not define the person you are. So it is. I think it was a very well made film, and some takebacks that we should have from that is that. We need to understand what our strong points are, what our strengths are, and to focus on that. Everybody cannot do everything. Focus on what you are good at, and if you focus on what you are good at, I am sure you are going to succeed in it. Plus, focusing and hard work. Hard work also is extremely important. I know we live in a world where education defines the person you are or how many marks you get, etc. But understand that we today are in such an age where things are opening up and people are recognizing abilities besides being a doctor and an engineer. So firstly, we need to thank God that we are in this state, in this age. Otherwise, we would be in the rat race, maybe like when I was younger in the early 80s and 90s. So understand what your strengths and weaknesses are and focus on your strengths, and try and do things that you enjoy, because I think job satisfaction is the most important thing when it comes to careers.